right, good day, good morning. Nice to have you with us. And I'm going to get a couple of stories today from authors with very different books. And let's open up right now with Jean Criss. She's the author of My Pain Woke Me Up. And then it's hyphenated, BLISS. And that's always interesting and gratifying to hear positive outcomes to difficult stories. And this is a difficult one. The book is published by Author House. It's available in paperback and ebook, and you can get it by going to BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, AuthorHouse.com. And Jean Criss, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Stu. Appreciate it.
Well, I mean, this is really a heart-wrenching story in so many ways, and it's also a story about courage and the pursuit of happiness, and as the last part of your title indicates, bliss, because all that is bad does not have to end up that way. But it's about your story, but it's written as a fictional account of a true story. Why isn't this written as nonfiction?
Yes, I wrote it this way so that I could really open up and talk about my experience as a survivor, and protect the names of a lot of my journey from my life as a survivor from experiencing widowhood at a young age, walking through my life through breast cancer and through divorce and depression, and bringing me through my life now as an entrepreneur. So it really walks me through my journey. It's not only about breast cancer, but it really walks me through my life from a very young age experiencing survivorship and through my journey now experiencing true bliss. So I really wanted to write it in that way.
All right, and I want to first find out, and I know our audience is listening, and they're already hearing some terrible things that have happened to you. How are you doing? Tell us how you're doing today.
I'm doing great. I'm very excited about a lot of my new chapters in my life. I feel like I'm rebranding myself. About 2 years ago, I started really my new journey in my life as an entrepreneur, and at the same time, I was completing my breast cancer surgeries, completed the chapter of my divorce, started really my new experience with my new life. And so all of that kind of happened all at one time. So I really decided to put pen to paper and write about it. It really was a lot to take on at one time, and that's really what I wrote about. I really wrote about how I pulled myself off the mat and pulled that into a positive.
What happened first here? Becoming a widow, you had apparently a terrific marriage, or the breast cancer. How did that all unfold? And how did you discover the breast cancer?
Yeah. Well, the breast cancer, I was widowed at 28, so that happened at a younger period in my life, and then just moved on and focused on my career in the corporate world. And then I was discovered with breast cancer about 20 years later, almost 20 years later, about 18 years later. And I had lumps, periodically throughout my life, and so I was being checked every 6 months and pretty diligent about that. And unbeknownst to, a lot of women, you don't expect this to happen, but you get that phone call after a mammogram, and you think that they've got it wrong, and went back in for another checkup. And it was ironic because the day that I received that phone call, I happened to be watching Robin Roberts on TV announce that she was diagnosed with her discovery.
Yeah, and she just came on again to talk about her recovery, yeah.
Yes, and that was the day that I was diagnosed. And not only was I diagnosed with cancer on one breast, but they found it on both breasts with my mammogram. So I went back, had MRIs and further, diagnosis, and that started my journey, and that was about 5 years ago. I've just recently been told that I'm a 5-year survivor now. So I've been through a lot over the past 5 years.
That's wonderful. I mean, a woman has a serious decision to make, and yours was not apparently you got it in two breaths. You have to say it's serious. What stage was it in, and how did you decide what course of action to take, dealing with, number one, your career, the perception of other people? I'm a male. It's a little hard for me to really understand it, so please try.
Okay. Yes. I had stage 0 on one breast and stage 1 on the other. So it was caught early. I was thankful about that. I chose a non-invasive choice, which was either lumpectomy with radiation or bilateral mastectomy with reconstructive surgery. And at that time, because it was caught so early, I thought that the lumpectomy with radiation was the best route to go. So I chose that. I did proceed with that. And unfortunately, I had a really bad reaction with radiation. So after I went through those surgeries and began the radiation, I had to stop and switch to a bilateral mastectomy. It's not very common that this happens. So my story just kept getting deeper and deeper, because I not only then switched within 4 months to having, I think it was already up to 6 surgeries, and I was doing these over long weekends, so it didn't really impact my career. I then had the bilateral mastectomy with reconstructive surgery over a holiday weekend, and I was back over the holidays, but then I started my experience of having issues with the implant. And I've since had my implants replaced 4 times. And that's not very common. I also got MRSA and had a breast cellulitis. So I've had a lot of infections and some issues since then. But I'm doing great now. So that's the great news.
I'm happy to hear it. Now, this book is obviously written for women who have breast cancer and how to deal with it. But it's as you said at the beginning of the interview, this is a much bigger story than breast cancer. It's dealing with adversities and the tragedies that we all face within life. What are the messages, the main messages you want someone to take home from this book?
Well, really, it's about doing a lot of your own self-discovery and market research. I didn't always take the recommendations of my physicians. I did a lot of my own research, and the reason for that was maybe it's because of my history that I do come from a family of physicians, and I also have a media background, and I knew where to go and where to turn for a lot of the resources. I also was on the board of directors at Susan G. Komen, so I had a lot of resources at my fingertips. And I took it upon myself to look at the most advanced technologies that were out there. I didn't have your traditional bilateral mastectomy and reconstructive surgery. I was one of the 4th patients at the medical facility where I had my surgery to have a skin-sparing and nipple-sparing mastectomy and with reconstructive surgery at the same time. That wasn't very common then, which was only 2 years ago, but it is now becoming much more common. So, I did a lot of research. I was going to have the mammocyte, which is another form of radiation, where they put a balloon inside of you. When I had the lumpectomy and the radiation, it's a 5-day treatment versus, the 30-day typical.
I want to just jump in here because I only have a minute or two. I want you to talk about, the rewarding part of what you're doing now, getting involved with nonprofit organizations. Could you talk a little about that?
Sure. I have continued to be involved in many different nonprofit organizations, Komen being one. I also got involved with, was introduced to Joe Torre for abused women. I've been involved in over 20 different organizations throughout my career. I've been involved in supporting local chambers and community nonprofit organizations throughout my sales and marketing career. I've just loved working with local organizations in that way, and not only do I personally give back to those organizations when I can, I donate my time.
All right, I want to thank you so much for bringing your story to the airways. The book is My Pain Woke Me Up, -BLISS. It's in paperback and ebook, and it's written by Jean Criss. And thanks so much for this inspirational story. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Stu.